sub-county, and I must thank Senator Wambua for the support he gave towards that process as well. At the moment, I'm not allowed to push for anything. I'm allowed to serve Kenya and push Kenya forward as a whole. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is true, just like many sub-counties which have been established, it takes time before all the agencies and departments realize and actualize the need for the autonomy of each sub-county and grant them the fair allocation of their resources, including recruitment, into the public service. And therefore, it's unfortunate that the incident happened. I want to request the Senator for Kitui County and any other senator who are similarly situated in their counties, let us know when there is any agency that is recruiting, and you feel that there is a sub-county which is actually already established and has been given a code and is operational and has not been factored. Because some of the people who prepare those advertisements, some of those public officers, may not be up to date with the recent developments in terms of the creation of new units. Sometimes it's not their fault. And please, let's work together and make sure that we don't have a repeat of that. And I want to assure the Senator for Kitui County, the people of Kitui, and particularly the sub-county of Tharaka Tagishu, that all recruitment for all agencies and ministries and departments or in the public service will factor in this sub-county because it is operational and it's an autonomous sub-county which should be treated as such. The President did visit that sub-county sometimes last year, I think 13th of July or thereabouts, last year, 2023. And there is a presidential directive which we are implementing again. We hope we'll implement in the 2023-2024 budget, where we are directed to provide, construct the sub-county offices and a resident for the DCC and provide a vehicle for the DCC and other members of the sub-county security committee. I submit.
Thank you, Senator Alexander Mundingi.
Asante, Bwana Spika. Swali langu ni kwa ujumla. Sijui kama utaniruhusu upande ya security niweze kuuliza, lakini upande ya security, Bwana Spika.
Senator Mundingi, swali lazima ihusiane na ile swali ambayo ilikuwa imeulizwa na Senator Mofaya. Pengine tutakupatia nafasi tukimaliza kuuliza maswali zote. Si saa hizi.
Meru, ungeniruhusu tu dakika moja niweze kuuliza swali langu, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, wakati huu juu ya ulinzi, serikali ya Kenya Kwanza inafanya kazi mzuri na pia Bwana Profesa unafanya kazi mzuri, lakini wakati huu mvua inanyesha sana, tungetaka amani, na tumeona viongozi wengi ambaye wale wanaenda kusaidia watu kule vijijini, wengine kama wale walienda Mkuru kwa Jenga na wengine kwa Ruven, wakisema watu wasitoke pahali wamejenga kwa mto, na tunajua wakijenga hapo watashukuru maji. Na kwa sababu ya kuangalia maslahi ya hao watu na kuuliza, kwa sababu ni mchapakazi, kutoka siku hiyo mpaka leo umesukua jukumu gani ya watu kama hao walichosea watu wasiame, ndio tujue aidha wawekwe ndani au mpelekwe kotini, ndio kitu kama hiyo isikuje kutokea tena. Na tunajua hata walitamka matamuzi mabaya wa kusema wengine watu wanalala. Umesukua hatua gani, ama kama unaanza saa hii utakuwa umemaliza wakati gani ndio hao watu wawekwe ndani, ndio tuwe na amani katika serikali ya Kenya Kwanza? Asante, Bwana Spika.
Waziri, kama ungependa kujibu unaweza jibu. Kama unaona si swali ambayo inahusiana na...
It's an ambush, Mr. Speaker, but you know now I am subject to the authority of your directive. Generally, let me submit as follows in response to the matter raised by the distinguished senator for Embu County. We want to encourage the people of Kenya to see the ongoing environmental crisis for what it is and nothing else. Just like all other matters, it's a national crisis. Kenya is paying a huge price for the environmental crisis that we have nothing to do with. It is the pollution and the degradation of the environment, mainly by the big polluters of the world, that is responsible for the devastation we are doing. And today, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, our country, in our order of national security priorities, the effects of climate change is assuming a very, very crucial and important ranking in those priorities. The people we have lost in the last 1 month in this country are almost 80% of all the people we have lost to terrorism in the last 10 years. That is how serious the climate crisis is. And the rains are not over yet. And therefore, directly to what the Senator for Embu has said, we want to ask leaders, influencers, politicians, and all other people in positions of authority and influence to desist politicizing or even inciting the public, especially when security alerts and security orders have been issued. They are for the public safety. They are not for politics. They are not for other things. And we hope that this is the last time we are going to have people, our people being carried away by raging waters when they are sleeping at home. We have issued directives on recovery of all riparian rivers and other fragile ecosystems. Those are security directives. They are not requests. And any leader who tries to interfere with security operations, we will deal with them the same way we deal with other leaders who threaten our national security. As I have already said, this matter is costing us so much pain, so much death. It's now equivalent to what terrorism, banditry, and other serious crimes are doing to Kenya. The orders that are issued for public safety are mandatory. They are not political. They are not sectarian. They cannot be trivialized by leaders going to inside communities and telling them, stay here until I don't know what happens. Because in the process, you'll endanger the life of a family who will be carried away by the raging floods, and you'll be nowhere to answer when those families are crying. And therefore, I take you, and very soon, in the course of the day, the government will be announcing how we should respond for a long-term basis to confront the climate crisis before it destroys our country. We are already 20% of the GDP, and the resources we have produced have already expenditure to try and mitigate loss of life and property. I submit.
Thank you.
Secretary, to tell this House the criteria used by government to create sub-counties and what is the optimal number of sub-counties the country should have. Thank you.
Mr. CS.
That's a good question, like all the others, Right Honorable Speaker. It is important for the country to know through this House that the creation of administrative units is not a whimsical or discretionary activity. It is an activity that is guided by certain parameters. Some of them are constitutional obligations to ensure the people of Kenya access public services as close as possible to where they live. And therefore, one of the parameters that are important first is that the request, we make sure that the request must come from their communities. Number two, we expect that that request must be subjected to public participation as required by our constitution. Any request that doesn't have the support of adequate public participation at the local level, we do not even consider it. We return it back to where it has come from. Number three, of course, we look at other factors, including how easy is it for the affected people to be able to access critical services. And therefore, there are dynamics, there are parameters, and there are objective set of criteria that we use. It is not a whimsical, political, or temperamental activity where we wake up and say, we are creating this unit, we are not creating this unit. And I know on my table, I have on my table a number of deserving cases from very many parts of the country, including, I can see my brother here, the senator for Marsabit County, who is waiting for Eriret sub-county, and my officers here, you can see already they are aware. We have to create it because that is one of the most needed parts of this country where access to government services is extremely difficult. And Eriret, for your information, is 998 kilometers from where we are seated today.
Senator Andrew Mtata.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to ask our Cabinet Secretary for Interior a related question regarding Teso Central. The people of Teso are very grateful when Teso Central was created and headquartered at Amkura. But upon the division of subdivision of Teso South into 2 sub-counties, all the assets that were at Amkura were moved to the new offices of Teso South, and Teso Central was left without any facilities that would enable them to operate. Even the police don't have a patrol vehicle, they don't have, there's no stationery in the offices. Even the DC has nothing. The offices are just bare. So I don't know, Honorable CS, what plans do you have to make sure that Teso Central in Amkura, which the people of Busia are very grateful when you create the Ministry of Interior created, becomes fully functional? Because right now, people are not getting the services they deserve. That's my question, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Mr. CS.
Right, Honorable Speaker, sir. It is true what the distinguished senator for Busia County has said. The Teso area generally is one of the areas where additional administrative units have been already provided and will continue to provide more for the reasons which I stated earlier. It is also true that the creation of Teso Central created an asymmetry in terms of infrastructure between Teso South and now Teso Central. We are constrained for budget, but I also want also to inform the distinguished senator for Busia that we are also instructed and in a presidential directive to make sure we reallocate the available finances in our budget in the 2023-2024 financial year to get resources to provide infrastructure so that all the sub-counties have symmetrical infrastructural facilities. And even at lower level, we have operationalized, I think, 2 or 3 divisions. I've been in Teso myself once. I'm going back there next month because we have outstanding work at the divisional level. So I want to ask the distinguished senator of Busia County to be a little patient, and perhaps in the new financial year, we see how we can work together, and hopefully the CDF, which is relevant there, could support us. But either way, we have to create the infrastructural symmetry that is required to make sure that the Teso South Sub-County, Teso North Sub-County, and Teso Central Sub-County have adequate infrastructure to serve the local communities to be able to access government services as is envisaged under our Constitution. I submit.
Thank you, CS. Senator Karongo Thango.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question to the CS, whom before we started running for this seat, we used to look up to him. You know, we were learning from him, and even now, when he is now in that position, he's still our role model. Mr. Speaker, I'm going direct to the question. We all agree as a Senate that police need to be facilitated to execute their mandate. In line with that, out of 15 police divisions in Kiambu County, 5 do not have police vehicles. That is Githongorio CPD, Githurayo CPD, Kiambao CPD, Roiro CPD, and Deya OCPD. They do not have police vehicles. Out of 59 police stations in Kiambu County, 35 do not have police vehicles. My question is to the good CS, when are you likely to facilitate these police officers, and especially at this time when we are fighting floods and insecurity in some areas in Kiambu County? Thank you.
Mr. CS.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, sir. I think this request or the ask from the distinguished senator for Kiambu County is legitimate. At the moment, Right Honorable Speaker, out of the 1,300 police stations we have in Kenya, about 700 do not have vehicles. That is nearly, actually more than half of the police stations of our country. A number of police divisions are also they do not have facilities. And for the last 1 year, we have been engaged as a ministry with the National Treasury so that we can renew and expand the leasing program, which had provided us with space to be able to equip and provide vehicles for our law enforcement officials. Because of the fiscal situation that the country has been going through in the last 2 years, we've been negotiating with Treasury because our demand for police, Ngao, and all the players, including DCI, was actually we were asking for 4,000 vehicles through the leasing program. But we've been brought to reality that the economy cannot carry that request. And I think last month, we are almost, the last 1 month, 2 weeks, we are almost agreeing for an allocation of 1,600 vehicles for all our agencies in the Interior Ministry, which we shall allocate to the various agencies prudently and on a need basis, giving priority to the police because they are on the front line of law enforcement and making sure that we have public safety. And therefore, I want to assure the distinguished senator for Kiambu County, who almost got me worried when he said they used to look up to us. And then I almost asked what happened. And then he acquitted himself by saying that we still do. And I still remain available to support a brilliant young leadership that I see in both houses of parliament. And as I said this, and it's a sincere statement, I think the Senate is, as it should, doing even better than the previous houses, and that's what it should. I have always told the leader of the majority that he's likely consequentially to be the greatest majority leader until he is dethroned by another majority leader who will succeed him later. So he has the title now as the greatest majority leader of the Senate. Having said so, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to assure the Senator for Kiambu we should remain in touch so that when we finalize the contracting of the new leasing equipment, we will give priority to the needs of Kiambu. We may not give you everything, but definitely we will give you more equipment, more vehicles for Kiambu, as we also give to the rest of the country.
Thank you, CS, and it's good to know that you've elevated the majority leader to a goat. Yeah. Senator Joseph Kithuku.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to take this opportunity and congratulate Waziri for the good job that he is doing. Honorable Speaker, Lamu has been in the limelight for a very long time for the obvious bad reasons. But Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I want to congratulate the Honorable Waziri because of the good job that he has done to Lamu. Lamu is now a very peaceful county, and Waziri, you have done a very good job. And for the since 2014, Waziri, we have had a lot of security problems, but as at now, Waziri, things are doing very well. Now, I wanted to ask Waziri two questions.
Senator of Lamu, you can only ask one question.
That is okay. I stand guided, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we have a sub-county in Lamu that was gazetted a while ago. That is Lamu West sub-county that is supposed to be constructed at Mpeketoni, being its headquarter, Honorable Speaker. I wanted to know from Waziri, what is the government preparing, or what is the government intending to do to see to it that that sub-county headquarter is constructed. Finally, in relation to that, Honorable Speaker, there are some police stations that were constructed by the current MP through the national government, NCDF, but it is still understaffed. There is no staff as we speak. So what is the minister planning to do to see to it that those police stations are staffed? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I see a lot of interest in this question, and I'm not sure if we're going to have enough time to take the other two questions that are remaining. So I would want to ask senators to be very brief, and probably we'll take 3 questions so that the CS can answer 3 questions at the same time, so that we can proceed much faster. Senator Steve Lelegwe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have one supplementary question to the Cabinet Secretary, and my question is, can the Cabinet Secretary update the House on the timelines for gazetting the next batch of the new administrative units that have met the threshold for upgrade, particularly those that are facing security challenges? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Oburu Oginga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Waziri is in very familiar territory, having been the Deputy Speaker here. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I just want to ask him about Bondo Sub-County, where there was a gazettement of Usigu division as a sub-county, and it has not been operationalized. Can we know when it will be operationalized, Mr. Speaker, sir? And I don't know, Mr. Speaker, just allow me to mention something on security. Mr. Speaker, there's a market in Bondo constituency called Ndira, which is just opposite Raila Odinga's home. And there is a lot of insecurity, Mr. Speaker. The people are being beaten there, the shops, there are some boys marauding, denying people of their telephones, and the people are crying, Mr. Speaker, because and reports are made to police, and there's a woman who even caught some people on camera, and those people were in police uniforms, Mr. Speaker, and there is nothing which is no action is being taken at all. The market is called Ndera Market, Mr. Speaker. I hope the minister, maybe if he doesn't know anything about it, he could investigate and let us know. But if he knows anything about it, can we know the situation of security there? Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bwana CS.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you with regard to the statement raised by the distinguished senator for Lamu County. Just as he has thanked us, me and my colleagues in the ministry, we are also very grateful to the political leadership of Lamu County. We had started with a little bit of turbulence, and we had a very unpleasant engagement at the beginning with the political leaders of Lamu County, the governor of Lamu County, the senator of Lamu County, the woman representative, and the MPs of Lamu County. We had a very turbulent, unpleasant encounter, which, as I said earlier on, Mr. Speaker, comes with this territory. National security it's like that. National security and politics are not 100% symmetrical. There are rough patches along the way. And I can see others here, some of them looking at me, whom we have had some moments. And later on, those moments have gone, and we have the good moments. So I am very grateful to the political leaders of Lamu County and the current normalcy that we continue to engage, although we are still on high alert. Much of it has been contributed by the maturity, sobriety, and the leadership of Lamu County. We're very grateful. Many of our problems, national security problems, are caused by us. We sometimes take advantage of insecurity. We rope in politics, we rope in religion, we rope in other things, and we complicate a problem which would have been resolved easily. So I'm very grateful for Lamu and many other counties which had issues, and now we are managing them together with their leaders. Honorable Speaker, the government will provide money during the financial year 2023-2024 to start the construction of the offices for the Deputy County Commissioner for Lamu West at Mpeketoni. Honorable Speaker, with regard to staffing of police stations, police posts, and patrol bases within Lamu, I have already asked the Inspector General of the National Police Service to gazette, because for police stations is the IGU gazettes, those facilities after he sends the team to inspect them, so that to make sure they have the basic amenities like the armory and other critical facilities like a cell for men, a cell for women, a cell for children, which now is standard in all our police facilities. As soon as the IG is satisfied with the structural integrity of that space, he will gazette and we will deploy. And we have enough officers in this country, 106,000 police officers for a population of slightly above 50 million. We have enough officers to post to Lamu and to all the other parts of the country that are needed. Right, Honorable Speaker, I've also been asked by the distinguished senator for Samburu County, which is one of the counties that has really experienced very painful moments because of criminal activities and organized crime. I want to respond by saying that yes, there is the process of establishing an additional sub-county and other administrative units in that county is underway. I already engaged the leaders and we agreed on what they needed to do in consultation and of course with the deputy county commissioners and the county commissioner in Samburu, so that the public participation process is impeachable. Once we conclude and gazette, we are not taken to courts over headquarters, over this and that, and the other issues. In any case, the Constitution demands that public participation must be carried out by any public official or any institution that is making a decision. So we will conclude that process. I am hopeful, possibly before the end of the year, we will have another cohort, again, broadly for the country, not just for Samburu County, because our obligation as a nation is to carry everybody along. Finally, my senior, the senator for Siaya County, I think Senator Oburu Odinga, has raised two issues. The first one, he has asked about Usigu County, which is supposed to create an additional sub-county within Bondo, the larger Bondo sub-county, and which, by the way, Bondo is one of the largest sub-counties we have in the country in terms of population, and very deserving case. I had scheduled to go and operationalize Usigu sub-county last month when I was doing countrywide tours of various counties for security duties. But I think the member of parliament was away and there was a logistical issue, and I said it's good for all the parties to consult and we will reschedule a date for the operationalization of Usigu anytime that all the parties are ready. You know, normally operationalization of a sub-county is a public event. We like involving all stakeholders, unlike our other security operational tours, which we take without telling anybody. And we've been bashed by very many of our friends who say, how can you come to here or there without telling me? And over time, I think they have agreed with us. Sometimes when it's an operational trip, we are not in a position, first of all, to tell anybody, leave alone the elected leader, even for our own safety. And number two, it is not possible, some of the things we do, to have the public with us. But whenever we have an event as security managers that is a community event like operationalizing a sub-county, we make sure we inform everyone and members of the public come so that we are all together. So the distinguished Senator for Siaya, we will do that for Usigu in the shortest time possible. We are ready. And the budget has already been aligned to reflect that. Finally, this DIRA issue, I think I have seen one of the reports from my daily security briefs. Every morning we have daily briefs and threat assessment. And I think that general area and also parts of Vihiga and the boundary between Kakamega and Siaya again, there's a lot of criminal groups who are perpetuating violent crime, stock theft, in a most peculiar manner, because there's still one cow, but so many, you know, if you add the cows stolen in that area, within a week, you'll find that actually it's like 150. But each cow was stolen separately. So, and we're asking ourselves, what is the difference between this and what is happening in North Rift? Because in the North Rift, there will be one raid of 100 cows. Here, it is many raids, but in installments, but the total is the same. So we are taking action, Senator Oburu, and the issue of youths who are organized to commit crime, either by themselves or by other people, is of concern to us. Because if we don't tame that tide, many countries who have gone that route have found it impossible to reverse it. And even among political leaders, please, those of us who are festering groups of people who are using violence to perpetuate whatever outcomes, you are endangering our national security. Stop it. It would be very brutal. And I want to say this, you've seen last week, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, you've seen last week what happened in Kisii. And this goes across the board. Politicians from the Kenya Kwanza group, politicians from Azimio group, and it's localized there. And each people, you know, with young people there, terrorizing others, disrupting meetings, groupings like those, over a long time, if they fester for a long time, because we have many of those in Busia, in many, many places I don't have time to enumerate. They mutate, then they assume a life of their own. They even overturn their sponsors and become their own institutional arrangements. And that's how countries like Haiti found itself at certain parts of that country under the control of criminals. So we will be very harsh. And here again, there will be nothing political about it. If you are a political leader and you're on the government side and you have a gang of criminals terrorizing your opponents, we will come for you as we come for those boys. If you are on the opposition also, and you have a group of youngsters whom you have given money and drugs and alcohol to terrorize your opponents, even within the opposition, we'll also come for you, and you will not tell us, you will not invoke the usual sentiments that we are being fought because we are in the opposition. So I thought that is a good space as I answer my brother and elder, Senator Oburu, that we are worried about the increase of small pockets of organized groups of criminals inflicting violence on people, but also advancing other objectives, including political objectives. I submit.
Thank you, CS. Honorable Senators, I would want to propose that you keep your questions, keep your buttons the way it is. Let's take the remaining two questions from Senator of Turkana and Senator of Tana River. Once they're done with their question and their supplementary question, I will go back to the questions that you have, and I will allow supplementaries thereafter. Senator Turkana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I want to ask question number 039 to our hardworking CS. The question 1A, has the ministry undertaken an impact assessment of the curfew imposed in major towns and centers in Turkana County, particularly Lokicher, Nakabosan, Keukunyuk, Kalemorok, Kaputir, Kakongo, and Kainuk areas? And if so, could the Cabinet Secretary indicate the extent to which the curfew has achieved its intended purpose? B, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the higher prevalence of crime during curfew hours compared to non-curfew hours, and clarify whether this is attributable to security personnel allowing unauthorized vehicles and individuals to move around during curfew hours? C, are there plans to lift the curfew in light of the negative impact it has on the livelihoods of the residents? And if so, could the Cabinet Secretary indicate the timelines for the same? D, Mr. Speaker, what alternative measures has the ministry taken to effectively tackle insecurity in the region? And could the Cabinet Secretary also indicate any initiative by the government to strengthen community policing, which is a more sustainable approach? Thank you.
Mr. CS.
Right Honorable Speaker, sir, in relation to the statements sought by the distinguished senator for Turkana County, I state as follows, that, Mr. Speaker, major town centers in Turkana County, especially Turkana South, that is Kakong, Kainuk, Kaputir, and Lokichar, are currently under the curfew. We are reviewing that whether there may be need to isolate specific town centers that may not be contributing to the security challenge we have in that area and remove them from the renewal of the curfew orders. And that assessment has been going on for the last 2 months. There are indications that some of the town centers will be removed from the curfew orders, the same way we did with some of the urban centers that had been included in the curfew orders within Samburu County. However, Honorable Speaker, the curfew orders in Turkana County and other disturbed or other counties where it has been determined that the state of insecurity categorizes them as dangerous and disturbed, those orders will subsist. And we have no timelines. We will not say when those orders will expire. Those orders will expire when we are convinced that the current threat has been extinguished. Just for the avoidance of doubt, I have said the government will only consider on a case-by-case basis particular towns and urban centers, especially around the highway, the Lodwar, the Kitale, Kapenguria, Kainuk, Lokichar, Lodwar Highway. A few of those urban centers may be exempted, but only within the urban center so that we don't affect commercial activities, which should not be the case. However, the general area still remains volatile. We have made some advances in the past 1 year, especially with regard to highway robberies, but we are still experiencing challenges, and therefore the curfew orders will subsist. In particular, the area that is giving us a bit of challenge is the KWS area and the Turkana South Game Reserve. And some of the breaches of security that we continue to see sporadically are emanating from that space, and we are taking special security measures to secure the Turkana South Game Reserve and make it inaccessible to criminals. Right Honorable Speaker, sir, we do not agree that there is a surge of crime linked to the curfew orders. We have checked on all police stations or current books within Turkana East and Turkana South sub-counties, and the daily reports from national government administrative officers. And our conclusion is that there has been a drop on petty and major crimes in the towns under the curfew. Crime has not been eradicated, but there is an incident, a drop in incidents. Therefore, It is also the position of government that only authorized vehicles that are in the schedule to the curfew orders are allowed to operate beyond the curfew hours, because the curfew orders, there is an annexure of listed essential security providers who are exempted from the curfew. And if the distinguished senator for Turkana County has any information of any misconduct on any of our law enforcement officials who might be abusing the curfew orders to permit unauthorized movement of vehicle beyond the curfew hours, we will be happy to get that information even on a confidential basis. Right, Honorable Speaker, sir, apart from the ongoing operation, security operation, the government has taken additional measures to address insecurity issues within Turkana County. They include, but are not limited to, the following. First, we are encouraging communities to develop and foster a culture of peace. No amount of security hardware, no amount of hard enforcement can replace the sustainability that comes with community-generated peace-building activities. And therefore, we are encouraging that. We have already changed the security personnel in that general area, I think in the last 2 months. The last posting order, which I did for chairpersons of county security teams, which are normally county commissioners. You have seen the North Rift, we've done some redeployment. The same with county police commanders, the National Intelligence Service coordinators, as well as the DCI coordinators in those counties. We've done some personnel changes to encourage a mix of both the hard enforcement measures, but also peace-building measures, especially through Ngao officers. Number two, and by the way, these changes, we've already seen a bit of improvement after that last personnel deployment changes. Number two, Honorable Speaker, sensitizing the communities to embrace other forms of livelihoods, because a single livelihood approach to life in the form of livestock is what has taken as the route where this problem has persisted. Thirdly, we are discouraging herders from settlements within the Turkana South Game Reserve, because this is where bandits are hiding, pretending to be herders, pretending to be looking for pasture, and the attacks that we've had on the Kitale, Kapenguria, Lokichar-Lodwar highway. The hideout for these criminals, the planning of the attacks and the retreat after the attack has always been in the Turkana South Game Reserve, which we want to clean up through a special security operation and make it inaccessible so that we can have durable peace and security in that area, and especially along that beautiful road that connects our country with our neighboring South Sudan nation. Next, we have continuously increasing the recruitment, training, and deployment of National Police Reservists. Next, we are also increasing the strength of regular and special forces within the security and law enforcement officials. We also are engaging in stakeholder engagement, and increasingly now, as we continue towards stabilizing the insecurity incidents, we want to bring in other stakeholders to support what the security agencies are doing, including civil society. We want to bring in religious organizations, political leaders, and so forth and so on. And once more, I am very proud to the political leadership of Turkana County. and the political leadership of West Pokot County. Again, about a year ago, we had a very turbulent patch in terms of our relationship as security managers and themselves as elected leaders, but it's now healing because the issues that were dividing us have been addressed, and there is a lot of support that I'm getting from political leaders from West Pokot and from political leaders in Turkana County. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Thank you, CS. Senator Turkana, do you have a supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to thank the CS for what he has submitted. It is true, the security officers in Kainuk, Turkana South and Turkana East are doing good work. But, Mr. Speaker, maybe I wanted to inform the CS that the officers at Turkana South who are securing the A1 road have a biggest challenge. When they want to face the bandits or the highway robbers, the highway robbers hide themselves in the bushes, which is the feeder roads. There are feeder roads from Kainuk to Loyapat. There are feeder roads from Wildlife to Kakongo. Those areas, even during the time of raids, Mr. Speaker, sir, the security personnel get it hard to be in those areas, to patrol or get those bandits. So, Mr. CS, I request, with humble request, so you collaborate with the CS for infrastructure so that those feeder roads will be maintained and made sure it is passable. Because even recently, there was a raid and the KDF used the drones. They saw the bandits, but there was no way they can access to the bandits and counter them. So the presence of access roads are very important, Bwana CS. Finally, the question that I wanted to, a supplementary question that I wanted to ask you, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for extending, providing, bringing closer services closer to the farthest counties of this nation. Example, Marsabit. I was in Inderet, and I saw people who are almost 4,000 without IDs. And I questioned myself, are these Kenyans? They said that we are Kenyans. So, and then they also recognize the president and your office for adding them the additional sub-county. Secondly, you also consider Turkana County, especially areas that are bordering external Uganda, Southern Sudan, and Ethiopia. You added the new sub-units, sub-counties, that is Lokchogyo, Lokiriama, Aro, and Suguta. So the only way that we have been waiting that you promised, and I know your promise will be implemented immediately. We are set with the infrastructure to accommodate the DCC. So the Suguta sub-county and the Aro sub-county, I would like maybe to clear, when are you coming to operationalize those sub-counties? Thank you.
Senator Lomanen, you have given information to the CS, and you've appreciated him. I did not hear a question in your long summary. It's okay. I think the only question the CS would answer is when would you operationalize the
Yes.
sub-counties?
Yes.
And let's keep it brief, Bwana CS, so that we can move to the next question.
Okay. Right, Honorable Speaker, I'll be brief, but also the distinguished senator for Turkana has asked about security roads in the area between Kakong, KWS, and Kainuk. And I want to assure him, between the local member of parliament and because of CDF, the CS for transport and roads, and ourselves, it is on our priority list to have those security roads maintained as soon as the rains subside. Secondly and lastly, is on the sub-counties. Out of the 4 sub-counties that had been gazetted but were not operational, I have already presided over the operationalization of Lokichogio. However, 3 more remain, and which are Aro, Mr. Speaker, there is a disagreement at the community level involving even the elected leaders. The members of parliament, the governor, the community is not giving us a concurrence on where the headquarters will be. And those are some of the things that delay. And because it's a facility to serve the public, we are not in a hurry either to take sides or take a decision contrary to where the majority of the people want it to be, as opposed to individual leaders. So we are waiting for the conclusion of public participation and engagement for Aro, and immediately that matter is resolved, we will operationalize it. As the distinguished senator for Turkana has said, the word of the minister is his bond. But also above the promise of the minister is also under presidential directive. So there is a double weight on me. First of all, my own weight, and then some other bigger weight, which is pushing me to make sure as soon as possible the people of Turkana and all the other counties that are similarly situated have operational units. Then finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have 2 other sub-counties in that county. One is Lokiriama. The problem why we have delayed a little bit with Lokiriama is the infrastructure, at least to house the DCC and a few heads of department. We are working on it. And finally, Suguta. Suguta is ready. Suguta is ready. As soon as the rains subside, I'd actually scheduled to do it, but the rains began. The rainy season commenced before I could actualize that. So as soon as the floods and the rains, the current rains subside, we'll operationalize Suguta. I submit.
Thank you, CS. Question number 43 by Senator of Tana River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 43. Are there plans to re-establish the Wema General Service Unit GSU camp in Tana River County, which was closed after it was marooned by floods during the heavy rains experienced across the country in December 2023? And if so, could the Cabinet Secretary provide the timelines for the same? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
CS.
Mr. Speaker, this is where I'll take the shortest time possible because the answer, even the statement, is short. It is true what the distinguished senator for Tana River County has said, namely that we were compelled to relocate the Wema GSU camp during the El Nino rains at the end of last year because the camp was marooned and flooded. And after that, what we've done is to make sure that between the December floods and the current floods, we've been trying to see whether it is feasible to return that camp there, because as we had anticipated, Honorable Senator, through the Speaker, even if we had returned that camp in the same site after the El Nino floods, it would be now underwater still. So it is good we had the 2 seasons just to figure out whether what happened in December was temporary or is likely to be repeated every other rainy season. We are of the view now that the location where this GSU camp was, it cannot be the place where it will be situated. And therefore, to answer the question by the distinguished Senator Danson Mungatana, I want to commit that the government will re-establish the Wema GSU camp, but in an alternative site, which has already been identified. And that site, that place, the new site, is Kulesa, is somewhere in Kulesa village, Maziwa sublocation, Salama location, Tana Delta subcounty. That area has been identified by our security committee in Tana River in liaison with the community there. And please, once again, because we don't want to have push and pull on security measures, the elected leaders there, to whom I am very grateful, like I am to all the other leaders, I have received as the security minister utmost cooperation from the leaders of Tana River County. I urge them and implore them, in case there are any issues on the site that we have identified, let us know in good time. But as soon as the current rains subside, which should be in another 1 month or so, we shall return the GSU camp and put it in a new location and also increase the strength in terms of the number of officers we'll deploy there.
Senator Turkana, do you have, Senator Tana River, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bwana Speaker, mimi ninamshukuru sana waziri wetu wa usalama kwa kazi anayofanya Kenya na pia haswa kwa kazi anayofanya Tana River. Bwana Speaker, makosa yaliyofanyika mara ya kwanza walipokuwa wanaweka ile kambi ya GSU, hawakuongea na wananchi pale. Walienda wakatafuta mahali, watu wa security peke yao, na wakaweka mahali. Lakini nashukuru kwa sababu sasa amesema ya kwamba wameongea na wananchi, na kweli Kulesa village iko juu, na wakiweka hapo hatutapata hasara ya kuzama tena kwa hiyo kambi ya GSU. Asante sana Bwana Waziri. Kitu ambacho umesahau ni kujibu sehemu ile yaliyouliza kwamba pengine ni lini ambayo unakisia tutaregesha ile kambi ya GSU, kwa sababu sehemu ile we waziri unajua haiko mbali sana na msitu wa Boni ambao uko na mushkil kila wakati. Kwa hivyo ungetupatia huo muda tungeshukuru. Swali langu la pili na la mwisho, Bwana Speaker, ni tena kuhusiana na usalama wa sehemu hiyo. Tunashukuru sana kwamba Bwana Speaker, waziri alitupatia sub-county mpya, na hiyo sub-county inaitwa sub-county ya Tarasa. Na Bwana Speaker, waziri aligazeti hiyo sub-county, lakini hakutupatia headquarters, hakugazeti headquarters. Na sisi tunasema namna hii, kweli kuna public participation inayofanyika, na pengine ulipata results ama ulipata majibu ya hiyo public participation. Lakini baadaye kulikuja petition ama maombi ya kugeuza hayo mazungumzo yaliyofanyika. Mimi nilikuwa nasema hivi, Bwana Speaker, kwa waziri, ya kwamba shida kubwa ni kwamba sehemu ambayo ilikuwa imetajwa kuna wasiwasi ya kwamba ingeingiwa na maji wakati mvua inakuwa nyingi. Kwa hivyo nilikuwa nasema badala ya sisi kuingia hasara kama vile tuliingia hasara ya kambi ya GSU. Badala ya serikali kuu kuingia hasara kama hiyo, ingekuwa bora usifuate maneno yangu, usifuate maneno ya mheshimiwa mwingine ama viongozi wengine, lakini utume your own experts ama wanaitwaje, wataalam wako wenyewe, waende wakaangalie, je, ni sehemu gani ambayo ingefaa haiingii maji. Na wakati huu bwana waziri ndio wakati mzuri, kwa sababu wakati huu mtu hawezi kukudanganya ati nenda ukanunue hii shamba na hii shamba inaingia maji. Wakati huu mtu hawezi kukudanganya pale ni pazuri, alafu uende ukaweke sub county headquarters iingie maji, tupate hasara badala kwenda mbele tuende nyuma. Kwa hivyo swali langu la pili na la mwisho nikiwa nakaa, bwana waziri, ni lini utatuma wataalam waende wakaangalie mahali pazuri, kisha utagazeti lini ripoti hiyo ya wataalam? Asante bwana waziri.
Mr. CS.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kweli tulifanya makosa katika kuweka ama kuanzisha kambi yetu ya kikosi cha GSU katika sehemu ile ambayo baadaye ikapata kuwa ni sehemu ya kufurika. Na mimi nataka kama waziri niombe msamaha kwa niaba ya wote wenzangu, na pia vile vile niseme ya kwamba tumerekebisha hayo makosa, kwa sababu safari hii tumesema ya kwamba kabla tuanzishe kambi mpya lazima tuuzishe jamii, kwa sababu ile sehemu wale maafisa tumetuma hapa pale na ile kambi sio yetu, ni ya wananchi, ni ya manufaa ya wananchi wa pale. Kwa hivyo safari hii tumerekebisha makosa, na mimi kama nilivyosema naomba msamaha kwa sababu safari ya kwanza hatukufanya mashauriano ya kutosha na umma na wananchi na viongozi wa pale. Jambo la pili na la mwisho, Mheshimiwa Spika, Senator wa Tana River Mheshimiwa Mgatana amezungumzia swala la kaunti ndogo ya Tarasa ambayo ilikuwa ya kwanza katika orodha ya zile kaunti ndogo 16 ambazo tulizitangaza tarehe 14 mwezi wa Februari. Na ilikuwa ya kwanza kwa sababu kati ya zile kaunti ndogo ambazo tulikuwa tunatangaza siku ile the most needed case ilikuwa na hitaji kuu, zote zilikuwa na hitaji kuu, lakini hiyo was a special case. That's why we started with Tarasa. Ni kweli vile vile hatukutangaza makao makuu ya kaunti ndogo, na ilikuwa maksudi kwa sababu wakati tunatangaza eneo la utawala kama sub-county na kuweka katika gazeti rasmi la serikali, tunatangaza makao makuu kama jamii ya pale imeshakubaliana through a participatory process, na hakuna there is no difference of opinion. At least the majority of the people have agreed and there is evidence. Because once you gazette, kisha weka katika gazeti lazima ya serikali makao makuu, inakuwa sheria. La pili, hungetaka serikali iwe inaingiliana na wananchi wakati wanaamua mambo yao. Ungetaka serikali iwachilie wananchi waamue, wakipata maamuzi ya walio wengi, sasa serikali inakuja kutekeleza matakwa ya wananchi. Hiyo ndio maana ya public participation. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niseme mambo mawili. Ya kwanza, kambi mpya ya GSU ambayo sasa tumekubaliana tutaiondoa mahali iliko tuweke mahali palipo juu, tutaiweka katika chini ya siku 30 kutoka siku ya leo. Vile vile kwa sababu ile ni eneo hatari, kwa sababu liko katika pembeni pale, katika msitu wa Boni pale. Kwa hivyo tutafanya hivyo, na nimeshatoa amri kwa hao maafisa wangu wakuu wako hapa, afisa senior officers here, na hiyo kazi ya kutuba wataalam wasioegemea upande wowote kuangalia hali ilivyo sasa, kwa sababu maji yako katika zile sehemu ziko chini. Hiyo timu itatumwa ifikapo Ijumaa, na tutatarajia wapewe wiki moja ya kuleta ripoti, na hiyo ripoti ikikuja tutahusisha pia, tutajulisha viongozi, alafu tutaweka katika gazeti rasmi ya serikali mahali ambapo tutaweka. Sio hii hahitaji gazeti ya serikali, tutaanza kuweka kambi katika huo muda ambao nimesema wa siku 30. Kwa hivyo ni hayo tu kwa sasa. Nashukuru sana Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Asante. What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, Bwana CS alikuwa anaenda vizuri, akaongelea kuhusu kambi ya GSU, alafu akawa anaongea kuhusu ripoti ya wataalam ambayo ilikuwa inahusika na suala la sub-county headquarters, lakini kisha akaja, nafikiri hakumalizia hapo vizuri. Manake hayo ni masuala mawili tofauti. Angeelezea ni lini atatuma wataalam ambao wataenda kuangalia sehemu ambayo sub-county headquarter itakuwa, ambayo ni tofauti na ile ya GSU camp amemaliza nayo. Ni ile sub-county ndio iko kidogo na mushkil. Hapo tu kama angetuelezea vizuri. Asante.
Sawa waziri.
Ni kweli Mheshimiwa Speaker, nimetatizika hapo kidogo, na kama vile Senator Mungatana amesema, wataalam hawatahusika katika mambo ya kambi ya GSU. Wataalam wanahusika katika kuona ni mahali gani ambapo hakuna maji sehemu hii, ili tujue kama patafaa kuweka makao makuu ya kaunti ndogo ya Tarasa.
Asante. Thank you. CS, Senators, I will allow supplementary questions. We will ask 3 questions. I'll take 3 questions for the CS to answer, and then the next 3 questions. The first 3 questions will be one from Julius Murgo being first, followed by Mohamed Faki second, and Senator Orwoba third. In that order, and very quickly, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to take this opportunity also to thank the CS for his efforts and his team. North Rift now is very peaceful. My question concerns the triangle sub-counties of one in Kerio Valley and the other one in Koloa in East Pokot or Tiati. And I thought the other one is in Sigor or that area, so that there is 3 legs standing together for the sake of security. And when answering the Honorable Senator for Elgeyo Marakwet, you did not mention of the West Pokot side. Thank you.
Senator Faki.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First of all, I want to also congratulate the CS for the good work he's doing, and also in the Coast Province on the fight against illicit drugs. I have 3 questions. One question on the issue of extrajudicial killings. I wanted the CS to confirm whether his government or the government policy is still to eliminate people extrajudicially. And so far I've had 3 people who have died suspectedly to be in the hands of the police. One is Saleh Ahmed Yusuf, formerly known as Kanderani, whose body was found beside the Malindi Highway sometime in March this year. The other two who were taken away by security officers is Jamal, who was taken away from Kidogobasi in Mvita constituency, Mombasa County, and Nabil Ahmed, who was also taken away from Makupa in Mvita sub-county. Maybe he may not have the answers ready, but we want him to explain whether it is still the government policy to eliminate people extrajudicially. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. First of all, congratulations, Waziri Kindiki, for the hard work that you continue to put in security. In 2004, the National Police Service launched gender desks in the sub-counties as well. And I'm not sure whether you're aware that there's a spike on gender-based violence, as well as intimate partner violence, and even this criminal activities are being carried out by, including the foreigners who are here. I wanted to ask, is it possible to get a report on the state on the gender desks on the sub-counties? And if possible, is it, can we try and do something to highlight the processes? Because I know that there's no legal framework. There's no, let me not say legal framework, but there's no, there are no frameworks within the gender desk to ensure that we have all the way to convictions on these criminal activities, particularly on our women. Thank you.
Mr. CS, you can proceed with the 3 questions.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and thank you to the 3 senators who have raised the respective matters. Right Honorable Speaker, with regard to the statement and the concern from the distinguished senator of West Pokot County, the Reverend Murgo, I agree that Sigor is a deserving matter, it's a deserving case. I have been in that area. And I know right now, Sigor constituency, which is now in Pokot Central, where Pokot Central sub-county is. That sub-county, because of the triangle the senator for West Pokot is talking about, it's not a very happy triangle. It's not very happy. It is not happy because that's where we have lost so many people from Baringo, across the Koloa Bridge to Tot and Marakwet East, where we've added, the Baringo side, Koloa side, we put a sub-county there. On the Marakwet, Elgeyo Marakwet side, we are trying to resolve the issue by creating the Kerio Valley sub-county, which will solve the Tot, Liter problem, Kaben area. But in West Pokot County, it is true. That area in Sigor, near Cheptulel, that is the area where this country recently has lost one of its most illustrious sons in the line of duty. And therefore it's a deserving case, and subject, of course, to public participation procedures, as has been done in other cases. The government will be more than happy to expedite the establishment of an additional sub-county, so that, again, to bring equity in that triangle among the communities and among the counties, so that every part of our country and of that region feels protected by the government, as is their right. Right Honorable Speaker, the distinguished senator from Mombasa County, my old colleague, Senator Faki, and my professional senior, has asked whether this administration condones extrajudicial killings. Honorable Speaker, I want to inform the House and the country without fear of contradiction that this government does not condone the use of the weapons that are for the protection of the people of Kenya the weapons entrusted by law in our law enforcement agencies to destroy lives and to kill people outside the law. One of the first administrative measures that President William Ruto took very early in this administration was to disband a unit within the National Police Service which had been incriminated in going out of their mandate to torture and kill the people of Kenya outside the law. This government does not tolerate the use of the machinery, the security machinery of the state to kill people and to kill the citizens of Kenya. The weapons we have them to protect the nation and to protect the people, not to kill them and harass them. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, with regard to the three particular issues he has raised, I would encourage, so that we are structured and we are thorough and deliberate, if that request could come in terms of a specific question addressed with us, because we would like to know, for example, whether a report has been made and what's the OB number, so that the answer we give the House and the country is extremely accurate and can be relied on. So I will not comment on these individual cases unless there is a specific written question with information that can help us track whether a report has already been done, so that we can exactly identify, because people can just say, oh, Mr. So-and-so is lost, but where is he? And one way of establishing, or rather helping the police and investigative authorities to investigate an issue, or even civil society to ascertain the truth, is when there is an OB number and somebody formally enters a complaint of a missing person or a person they suspect has been killed outside the law. I would request that to be provided. I would be more than happy to give feedback on those particular cases. I am glad the Senator from Mombasa started by appreciating what government is doing to fight drug traffickers and people who have profited from the lives of the people of Kenya by selling cocaine and selling dangerous drugs that has rendered a big number of our able-bodied and productive young people zombies and useless and unable to contribute to national building. I'm glad to hear that from the Senator of Mombasa. I want to assure you, Senator Faki, through the Speaker, and I want to assure the people of Kenya, the people of Mombasa and Coast region, the three greatest enemies to our sustainability as a nation: drug traffickers, terrorists, and other organized criminals, including the banditry cartels. Those ones, we will be very merciless with them. We will use whatever method, whatever way, whatever resources to bring down organized group of killers. And I want to isolate those three categories: drug traffickers who have destroyed many of our children. Secondly, terrorists who continue to hurt very many parts of our country. And thirdly, all those who are at the center of organizing and perpetuating organized crime, including banditry. We'll be very merciless with them. And the weapons that I talked about that we have in our possession are to help neutralize and bring those characters down. That's all what I can say. I submit. Thirdly and lastly, my good sister here, the distinguished Senator Oroba, has asked about the gender desk. It is true, Mr. Speaker, we've seen a recent spike in deaths which are related to gender, you know, our women, our children, our girls, daughters, mothers, wives, being killed brutally by people who either they are family members or intimate partners, neighbors, and this is worrying us. It is also true that we have had gender desks since 2004, and I want to promise the House, Senator Oroba, through the Speaker, and the country at large that this is a good moment for us to revamp the efficacy of those gender desks, but also to track the whole process and make sure the accountability bit leads to very harsh convictions for people who are killing our children, our spouses, our sisters, taking advantage of the very innocent setup of the relationship between men and women in a family setup or in the other social setup. So I want to even challenge Senator Oroba and the House and parliamentarians to help us as law enforcement to develop the policy framework that can track this problem and provide a solution beyond just having a gender desk where a woman can go and report crime, and have a register and find ways of humiliating and making and embarrassing all these people in our midst who are really attacking and killing our women, our children, taking advantage of their proximity through relationships and through family arrangements. I submit.
Thank you, CS. We'll proceed to the next questions. I think I'll allow 4 questions because of time. In this order, Senator Mohamed Chute, followed by Senator Muthama Agnes, followed by Senator Veronica Maina, and lastly, John Kinyo, Senator John Kinyo. Very quickly, please. There's no time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Senator, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the last time the CS came before this House, I had 2 questions, supplementary questions. One question was the issue of NPR recruitment in Marsabit, and the second one was the issue of Ilret sub-county. And he promised us that time that it will take 60 days. And I want to thank him very much that he has kept his promise. The NPR recruitment has been done. They were well trained, and now all the NPRs have been deployed. The issue of Ilret he has just mentioned. I also thank him for that. And the question I have now, Honorable Speaker, is on the Hilo gold mining sites that was closed at 6:30 hours on 14th March 2024. I wanted to ask the Honorable Cabinet Secretary if he's going to call leaders from Marsabit County to discuss this issue of Hilo in the bell of Marsabit County. And on the issue of Ilret, I want the CS to visit Ilret if possible, to look at the living condition of the people, the police officers in that police station. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Chute. Senator Agnes Muthama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me first of all start by congratulating the CS. Whenever he's called here, he comes, unless he's very tight on his job. And I want to commend you for that, because there are many others who are called here and they don't appear. My question is about the recently gazetted sub-counties. Mr. CS, I remember very well when you entered your office, you called us as leaders of Machakos County, led by the governor, and we all came to your office and you requested us to give you our very first priorities that we need Machakos, to be done for Machakos. And we gave you Kalama to be separated from Machakos as a sub-county. We also gave you Kibauni to be separated from Mwala sub-county, and Modesi and Divine to be separated from Masinga. Mr. CS,
one traveling from Masinga town to go to Modesi and Ndivini takes the same time that one travels to Nairobi or to Machakos. It is quite a distance. And you remember we also discussed about the bridge there where people, just cross anyhowly. And we wanted to know when you are going to make a bridge there, even if it's to do something like what is in Mombasa, Likoni Ferry, to be able to, for those people to cross with dignity. Because the way they cross, even many of them are killed by crocodiles and hippos. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I submit.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Veronica Maina.
Honorable CS, thank you for coming back to Senate, and thank you for the good job you are doing. We are proud of how you are managing the docket, and you are very aware and conversant of the issues that are being raised across the 47 counties. Now, my two questions are, I'm still not clear on how many sub-counties the ministry has so far gazetted and when they are going to be operationalized. I think it is important that we come out very clear on that issue because of the impact that gazettement has to any upcoming elections in 2027. That's one. And then the other issue...
Senator Veronica, only one question, please. You can see the time.
It's a very crucial one, Honorable Speaker, because it's about the retooling and the reskilling of security forces to be able to manage disaster management, to handle disaster management, especially in view of the fact that one person, Samuel Kamau Kagwanja, accidentally had a very bad accident 2 days ago and dived into Sagana, the very big river in Sagana. He has not been retrieved, neither has his vehicle been retrieved. And personnel who are believed to be Navy officers tried to retrieve and were unable to do so and exited the scene. I do not know whether you have information on that and what is the ministry doing to retool and reskill security forces to intervene in disaster management in a situation like what we are in right now in Kenya. The floods, the extensive floods. Is there any effort to retool, reskill at county level, sub-county level, so that we can have interventions that are critical to saving lives across the 47 counties?
Thank you, Senator. Senator John Kinyo.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kunipa fursa hii. Kwanza namshukuru waziri wa usalama kwa kazi nzuri ambayo anatenda. Si kwa mambo ya mafuriko na si kwa usalama peke yake. Lakini swali langu ni hili. Waziri, kuna hii idara ama taasisi ya IPOA. Sijui uhusiano wako, mnafanya kazi na wizara namna gani? Kwa sababu nikitembea kaunti ya Laikipia, maafisa wengi wa usalama nasikia wakiwa na wamevunjika roho bila motisha, kwa sababu juzi mahali kunaitwa Karionga, askari wa NPR pigwa risasi kuuawa. Mahali kunaitwa Mutara, mzee wa kanisa ambaye anaitwa Muriuki alipigwa risasi kuuawa, na hapo karibu kuna askari polisi, askari wa Astu. Lakini askari wanapofika, badala ya na wanaona majambazi, badala ya kuwapiga risasi moja kwa moja, wanafyatua risasi hewani kwa sababu wanaogopa wakiitwa na hii taasisi ya IPOA, wao na familia zao watakuwa katika shida. Sijui waziri, hayo mambo ama mnafanya kwa njia vipi na hii taasisi, kwa sababu inavunja moyo askari wetu wa usalama. Nimekuwa nikiongea na wao, wanaogopa, wananiambia Senator, mimi nikipiga mwizi risasi nitaulizwa maswali, sasa nashindwa waziri, kama IPOA ndio watakuwa wakitulinda ama ni askari polisi. Asante.
Thank you, Senator. Bwana CS.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir. Honorable Speaker, with regard to those three questions, with your indulgence, I forgot to inform the House and the country that the question that was asked by Senator Roba on gender-based violence had a component on what we are doing on foreign nationals who come to the country, and then they start harassing, killing our women, our girls, and so forth. And I must say we've become extremely harsh on such people who misuse the hospitality of Kenya. to come and cause us harm. And the reason I have mentioned that, Honorable Speaker, is because it should go on record that we are doing a lot, and we are deporting all characters who are misusing our hospitality, and we are not even thinking twice about it. And I want to particularly thank Senator Oroba, and I think the PS for gender, and all the women leaders here who helped us just this week to deport a character who had attacked a disabled woman who was in a relationship with them. So I thought that should go on record. It's in the interest of the country. And I applaud you, Senator Oroba, and all the other leaders.
CS, just to interrupt you, the House will rise as soon as you conclude answering the questions, because we're already out of time.
Okay. All right, thank you. Very well. Thank you, Speaker. Then the three last questions that have been asked by the various senators, Honorable Speaker. The first one is from the Senator for Marsabit, Senator Chute, and I'm grateful for the remarks he has made about me and the work we are doing together, and I'm also grateful for the support that he and the entire political leadership of Marsabit continues to give us as security managers, dealing with a very delicate county with a lot of dynamics, and thank you very much, Senator, for the good leadership. Honorable Speaker, we will be calling the leaders of Marsabit to discuss the closure of Jilo mining site in Dabel. We had a very bad situation in March. We lost 7 people as a result of violence which erupted in the mines. Part of that violence involved foreign nationals who are not Kenyans. We had to shut down that mine because it was a big threat to national security. We will not reopen it until we are in concurrence with the communities and the leaders of the modalities of making sure that the sites will not be infiltrated by armed elements, some of them which were planning attacks on Kenyan territory from those mines. The place had been infiltrated by elements associated with terror groups and others associated with insurgent groups and fighting groups from other countries. And we had no option but to shut it down, cordon it off, and therefore we'll be calling the leaders of Marsabit in the coming weeks once the prevailing emergency goes down, so that we can sit down and discuss the modalities of reopening the Jilo mining site. I've been there in person, and it's a beautiful place, and the people of Marsabit and the people of Kenya should benefit from the huge wealth that is there, and but we will do so without undermining national security or terror groups and other fighting groups, even from outside our country, using that to stage attacks and cause instability in our land. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, the Senator for, and I'll visit Hiliret as requested by Senator Chute, and I'll inform him, and we will go together. The Senator for Machakos, the distinguished Senator, my sister, Senator Kavinda, has asked about the request from Machakos. I want to say the following, Honorable Speaker, that when we published the Gazette notice of 14th February 2024, if you look at the diversity, the national diversity, which we are very keen to make sure we maintain, only 32 counties featured there. And we believe each of the remaining 16 counties, including Machakos, have deserving cases of not necessarily sub-counties everywhere, but even lower level, like divisions, lower level administrative units, like divisions, locations, and sublocations. The request, particularly from the leadership of Machakos, is deserving. It's a large county, and some of the sub-counties like Masinga are big, and even lower level administrative units will be created. The next Gazette notice, which hopefully once we collect another cohort of counties, will implement as much as possible the recommendations and the wishes of the leaders of Machakos County and the public, so that that consultation we had is not reduced to just talking. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, is what has been raised by my brother, the Senator for Laikipia County, who I have very fond memories of our time together here in this house, because there was a time I got into trouble, political trouble in this house for no reason. And the Senator for Laikipia Counties is one of the 7 gallant senators who stood with me at a very difficult time and helped me to carry the cross because there was nothing wrong I had done, and helped me to bear the pain of what sometimes is bad politics in our country. So I'm very grateful to Senator Kinyua and the others, some of them left like Senator Cheragai. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, IPOA is a statutory body established under law. The mandate of IPOA is essentially crucial for the democratization and enhanced transparency and accountability of the security formations. It is in line with our constitutional order that says that national security organs must be subordinate to civilian oversight. That is why even the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces is a civilian, to make sure that all national security organs, the National Police Service, the National Intelligence Service, the Kenya Defense Forces, are subordinated to civilian authority. And therefore, the role of IPOA is important in our democracy, to make police accountable. We do have within the National Police Service an internal affairs unit that looks at maladministration, misuse, or abuse of power and excesses. But IPOA as a separate independent entity is important. However, and this is my last submission, Honorable Speaker, we are engaging with IPOA to increasingly sensitize them and that institution with due respect to concentrate on what their mandate is. And their mandate is to make sure that police officers, because they wield a lot of power because of the weapons and the law is behind them in terms of the actions and decisions they can take, they don't misuse those weapons and that power to harm the public or to conduct what Senator Faki was talking about, extrajudicial killings. However, what is not permitted is any excesses from any institution, including IPOA, to try and interfere with the sacred duty of our national security organs to protect the public and the safety of the people of Kenya. The fight against organized crime, including banditry, terrorism, etc., is a very serious and solemn engagement. It's not a laughing matter. And therefore, I would expect IPOA to rapidly arrest and prosecute an officer who is drunk and disorderly and goes to a bar, opens fire because he has drunk people's beer and has no money to pay for it. That officer should be arrested. And there are very few in our NPS. There are very few, a very small minority. The majority of our officers, Mr. Speaker, including our officers in the front line, protecting the country in very risky environments like the ones Senator Kinyua is talking about here, in the North Rift, in Northeastern, in Boni, the officers there are not having a holiday. They are confronted with great risk themselves to their own safety. And we have directed them to use the weapons they have to protect themselves and protect the people of Kenya. And there will be no officer who uses their weapons in accordance with the Constitution and the law of our country to protect themselves from criminals and terrorists, or to protect the people of Kenya. They will not be prosecuted by anybody. They will not be taken anywhere. We cannot allow our police officers to be brought down by the fire of a criminal We cannot allow that situation to happen. And we have directed them, they must bring down dangerous criminals before they harm them. They must take them down before they take our officers down or before they take the people of Kenya down, period. But police officers, the very few of them that sometimes go on excess and they are involved in very unrelated security issues not related to security and law enforcement, and they misuse firearms. Those ones, we don't even need to be consulted. Even the IG told me it doesn't even need to be told, it doesn't need to give consent. Let them be prosecuted and let them be jailed for very many years. I submit.
One moment, senators. Resume your seats. Resume your seat. Senator CS, there was a question by Nduati, Veronica Nduati, Senator Veronica Nduati, regarding retooling and retraining police officers to deal with floods.
Mr. Speaker, sir, it's true. Sorry, I forgot to respond to the request, the question by the distinguished Senator Veronica Maina, also a comrade in my previous life. We struggled together. Now, Mr. Speaker, it is true. We have to look at the curriculum that we teach our recruits. The issue of disaster management, disaster response should be as a very important component of the curriculum of every law enforcement and security official. That said, before this House soon, the government will be presenting the National Disaster Risk Mitigation Bill, which addresses some of these things in terms of making sure that disaster response management, search and rescue, coordination, and it is much more efficient. That bill is a very crucial bill. It will reduce the kind of incidents we are having when we have serious disasters like what we are having in the country. But in terms of our own officers, it's going to be an important part of the initial entry-level training curriculum, but also in terms of continuous on-the-job training for our officers. And also on that point, Right Honorable Speaker, the Coast Guard, we are modernizing and increasing the Coast Guard, because the Coast Guard is not just for protecting the territorial waters of Kenya, but also any inland activities where search and rescue in water-related situations is happening. The Coast Guard will be empowered to support those kind of rescues. I will check on that particular matter raised by Senator Veronica Maina, and outside the chamber, she is free to reach me so that we can give her feedback, which she can tell the people of Murang'a on where we are. I submit.
Honorable Senators, it is now 1:13 p.m. and having concluded the business for which I extended the hours of sitting, pursuant to Standing Order 34-2A, the Senate stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, 8th May 2024 at 2:30 p.m.
Wait, ngoja, show inaanza. No, show inaanza, but I need to tell you something exciting that you need to know. You can build a website for your business or personal brand without technical skills, without coding skills. That's why I want to introduce you to Odoo. Odoo is a platform with full suite of applications that can help you manage your businesses from HR, accounting, inventory, just to mention a few. A lot of services are there. But now with Odoo Website Builder, you are able to build your website without technical skills. All you need to do is just describe the website you want, choose the industry that suits you, add your color palette, your logo, select your features, and the best theme that you want. And just like that, you have a website. And the good news is that with Odoo, the first app is free. You can do this free. You can build your website free. And the icing on the cake is that you get a free domain for 1 year. What are you waiting for? Build a website for your business or a personal brand with Odoo Website Builder. Click the link on the description. Okay, show iendelee, show iendelee. Hakuna story ingine, show ianze.
Ai, dadangu Marian, huku si ni kama tumelaaniwa, na aliyetulani alifariki hata alizikwa akiwa hai. Mara leo polisi, kesho mbwa, kesho kutwa wezi, huku ndani kama hatuna nyota.
Acha nikwambie babu, ile siku nitashika pesa hivi, nitawaandikia resignation letter, hizi kazi zenu niwaachia.
Wewe. Sijaribu pia kusema unataka kupanda ndege uende Ulaya, alafu urudi hapa na vicheche kama yule Wambo.
Na nini anacheka stories za hospitali?
Siku moja mtakuja kuelewa nini nilikuwa nacheka.
Na by the way unafanya nini hapo?
Nilikwambia nangoja Wambo hapa, sina biashara nyingine hapa.
Utangoja wewe Wambo huko nje, kuna shed mzuri uende ukamngoje huko hivyo, ukubaliwi kukaa hapo.
Hapana, mimi siendi mahali yote na mngoja hapa. Kwani nina biashara nyingine hapa?
Utangoja wewe Wambo huko nje, kuna shed mzuri uende ukamngoje huko hivyo, ukubaliwi kukaa hapo.
Hapana, mimi siendi mahali yote na mngoja hapa. Kwani nikikaa hapa nimekosea mtu?
Kama wewe si mgonjwa, huwezi kaa hapo. Hiyo ni kiti ya wagonjwa. Toka uende ugoje Wambo, Wambo wako busy.
Ati Wambo wako busy? Hawezi kuwa busy akisikia niko hapa. Ndio mtajiti na Gerald ndio vinatakuja hapa mbio sana.
Marianne, the patient called his family and apparently they want to use a chopper to evacuate him to another hospital.
Chopper? Facility 1?
Yes, his family is catering for the specifics.
Wewe intern unajua kenye unasema wewe kweli? Ati mtu abebwe na ndege apelekwe kwa hospitali nyingine juu ni mgonjwa. Watu wa pesa sote wanasema maneno.
Wait. Ndege imefanya nini?
Imagine ule mgonjwa kuko hivyo anachukuliwa na chopper, anatransferiwa to another hospital.
Wambo, hebu kuja hapa tumalizane, wachana na mambo ya ndege.
Anaitwa Wambo _ alipiga si yake smarta pale high school, kimchezo akagraduate kikomrade with the help of Mwakenya na akapata job kama nurse na magaidi wenzake. Karibu facility 1. Hiyo si manas ni generation Z, doc na wadosi ni millennials na wagonjwa ni generation zote.